there were these Democrats who chose not to come, and I can't judge it at this point because there's nothing normal about a House full of Republicans clapping for repeated lies, repeated misstatements, repeated misleading facts, and misleading attacks. You know, clapping for that and clapping for, in a way, it's clapping against everything that we're about. It's clapping against the Constitution.
Yes, Republicans clapping against the Constitution. The Democrats then gathered up and they went and firebombed some synagogues because, you know, it was a Tuesday. They like to do that on Tuesdays. Quite remarkable. That's right, Jimmy Choo shoes. I don't know a lot about women's shoes, I will confess. Very good Wednesday to you, and welcome back once again. Big State of the Union speech last night, the longest State of the Union speech in the history of State of the Union speeches. According to those that keep track of these things, Bill Clinton was the previous record holder before last night. Bill Clinton's speech was so tedious that Democrats were jeering him and encouraging him to wrap it up and finish. And when Bill Clinton finally finished up, they all applauded wildly. Hey, he finished. He finally wrapped it up. That was a good thing. But it was pretty wacky. The Democrats revealed themselves to be who they are. Did you see John Fetterman wore a suit and a tie to the State of the Union? He wasn't in his usual, what does he wear, a sweatshirt, hoodie, and shorts or some sweatpants and a T-shirt underneath. That's what he normally wears. But last night, very strange, maybe his mom called or something, said, if you're going to the State of the Union, honey, you should wear a tie. So he wore a tie. He also shook hands with President Trump, President of the United States. One Democrat member of Congress, one Democrat senator, shook hands with the President of the United States. The rest of them, the Secret Service had to keep them at least at arm's length because they're a security threat. They're a danger to the President of the United States. Isn't that amazing? Pretty good stuff. Yes, sir. And the Democrats, President Trump, one of the things that he had was the mother of a Ukrainian refugee that fled the war. The young woman named Irina Zarutska. And Irina Zarutska, you may recall, had her throat slashed and was murdered on a trolley train, by a career criminal that the Democrats put on the street again and again and again until he butchered a young woman who was a refugee from the war in Ukraine. They pretend to care very deeply about the war in Ukraine. They're liars. They lie in everything that they tell you. But Irina Zarutska, the mother, was there, and President Trump introduced her, and the Democrats are like, screw her and screw the dead one too. They literally are on the side of murderers, and that's not even an illegal alien murderer. That was a local, mentally ill, drug-addled Democrat, career criminal, murderer, and the Democrats are still on his side, like Luigi Mangione. They're on Luigi Mangione's side, and they're on the side. Hey, Thomas Crooks, he shot President Trump through the ear, and Democrats say, too bad he missed. And they say Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and they say, good. The Democrat Party is a bloodthirsty gang of murderous goblins, and more Democrats, more murder. More Democrats, more crime. They're quite something, these people. Yes, they are. But there are other Democrat stories today, too, because they never stop. For example, Eyewitness News 7. This is a good one. Suspect dubbed Oscar the Grouch, from the Muppets and things like that, caught hiding in trash can. I'm sorry, he's nicknamed Oscar the Grouch, and this is in Huber Heights, Ohio. It's a police dash cam video shows a sanitation worker getting a big shock when a suspect pops out of a trash bin. It's a big old trash bin, and like a dumpster thing. Dash cam video from the Huber Heights Police Department shared on social media. The suspect ran off during a routine traffic stop of the garbage truck, and here's the dash cam video now. Officer was searching the area. A sanitation worker was moving a trash bin, and the worker opened the bin. Out jumps this Oscar the Grouch to startle him. He sees a man hiding inside the garbage bin. Video shows the suspect jump out of the car, and he starts running, and that's the thing. However, the cops ran to catch him, placed him in custody. Turns out he's a Democrat, and the police have dubbed him Oscar the Grouch because they found him living inside a big garbage can. And that's what the Democrats do with mentally ill people. They say, well, he'll be crushed by the trash collection, and the big garbage truck will kill him, and then we'll come get his body. Just like the 12-plus homeless people that died in the cold snap in New York City a couple of weeks ago. They killed at least 12 homeless people. That's just the ones they're admitting to. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, but the Oscar the Grouch story is kind of a fun story because the pictures are pretty kooky, I've got to say. Yes, sir. Just nutty buddies. These people. I love this story, too. This is one of... today is, I should say, it's Wednesday, and it's Mailbag Day as well. It's definitely Mailbag Day. You know what that means in the Clinton household as well. But this is a kooky one, too. I do love this one. House Democrat, a Democrat in the House of Representatives. House Democrat labels drinking whole milk instead of 2% milk. Listen to this, a, quote, white supremacy dog whistle, end quote. That's what the Democrats are saying. That's who they are. That's what they're doing. A Democrat member of the House of Representatives says drinking whole milk is they love these dog whistle things. I don't think they should be allowed to own dogs. They shouldn't be allowed to own guns. And they probably shouldn't be allowed to fly on commercial airlines. But whole milk now is, according to the Democrats, is white supremacy because, I don't know, it's superior to 2% milk or something. But that's your Democrat Party because they're mental. And they just can't wait to call everybody racist when they're the party of every racist in history. They shot and killed Martin Luther King. The Democrats did, but never mind that. Just remarkable stuff. Yes, sir. In fact, there's I think I know where she got it. There's a Bioethics Today article from earlier this month. And is the recent effort to glorify whole milk tainted by racism? That's actually a serious article right there. Whole milk, and there it is. And lefties, how the alt-right uses milk to promote white supremacy. This is a left-wing website called The Conversation. It should be called The Moron Conversation because that's your Democrat Party. That's your they're not well. They are not well at all. And whole milk, not just white milk, but whole milk is white supremacy. It's a dog whistle for white supremacy. Because, dog whistles are. They are truly something, these people. It's a dog whistle. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah, I wanted to get to Chuck Schumer. We had Chuck Schumer and then the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, because they're liberals, too. They call themselves liberals, which means they're racists and they're genocidal anti-Semites and they're anti-American and anti-Western, but never mind all that. And it is just amazing stuff. Yeah. So the Democrat member of the House of Representatives, pretty amazing, Representative Maxine Dexter. And she was complaining about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., lifelong Democrat Kennedy family and all that good stuff. But so there it is. Maxine Dexter said, telling people to drink whole milk is white supremacy dog whistling. Democrat Representative Maxine Dexter said, I'm tempted to go buy whole milk on the way home today. Not because of white supremacy, but because it must be good for you if the Democrats are against it, whatever they're against. All right, but let's go to Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer was on CNN. Chuck Schumer was on MSDNC, and the BBC picked it up. Chuck Schumer didn't like, apparently, the Lizard King. He didn't like the State of the Union address last night. He was there, and he had that creepy smile. that if you didn't know who he was and he was, he was on a bus, you wouldn't let the kids sit near him because he's too creepy. But here's creepy lizard king Chuck Schumer on CNN summing up President Trump's speech thusly.
John, this was not America's State of the Union. This was Donald Trump's State of Delusion.
Oh, it was somebody told him, hey, Senator, you're a lizard. Why don't you say this? It's real clever. It's a play on words. It's not State of the Union. It's Donald Trump's State of Delusion. And they said, oh, was that John Berman? That's John. And was he cross-dressing? Because I know a lot of them there at CNN do. But it's not a state of illusion. It's a state of delusion. It's not a State of the Union. And then the limousine came and got him and brought him over to NBC so he could go on NBC fake news.
This was not America's State of the Union. It was Donald Trump's State of Delusion.
Oh, see, it's such a good line. He had to go from studio to studio to say the same thing, and they all applaud. And they say, oh, would you come over here and say it on MS-13? And they it's mental. And then the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, which leans very heavily left. They're in Britain and England. And they said, hey, Chuck Schumer, it's a very late speech for them because they're 5 hours ahead or something. And here is the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, summing up the State of the Union in the United States.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called it a state of delusion.
Ah, it's a state of delusion. State of delusion. Isn't that great? Just wonderful. You know what MS-13 DNC is doing all day today? Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. They just want that to, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to become anything. They're just going to keep saying it over and over again. Also, did you see the Tardos of the Democrat Party with their little anti-Trump, anti-State of the Union gathering at the National Press Club in Washington on 14th Street? And they had a bunch of cross-dressers. They had a stage full. They had a stage, and it's their Love the Swamp, State of the Swamp gathering there. They had a bunch of people dressed up like frogs, dressed up in frog outfits, kind of LSD born of a hallucination, frog outfits on, and a whole stage full of them. And they had some left-wing Democrat lunatic. Oh, no, is it really? Oh, is that right? This is the white supremacy milk lady? Oh, it's the white supremacy milk lady. And she was on the stage with a bunch of people dressed in frog suits, and it was really mental.
I'm a mother. I am a physician.
You are? Mother what?
I have a flag.
A gay flag?
And I am the proud representative for Oregon's 3rd Congressional District.
Surrounded by frogs.
Yes, thank you.
Human-sized frogs, 6-foot frogs.
And tonight, I defy Trump and his authoritarian project by standing in joyful, radical, peaceful resistance with the Portland Frog Brigade.
It's the Portland Frog Brigade. She brought the Portland Frog Brigade with her from Oregon. We're going to need to sell Oregon to China, I think. Canada doesn't want them. That's keep Portland weird. You guys have gone way around the bend long ago. And there's literally, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 people dressed in larger-than-life frog suits surrounding her. And this is the Congress. This is what the Democrats have done to the greatest legislative body in the history of the world. They've turned it into a clown show in a house of ill repute. They're really something, these people. And there was another guy came out, and this guy. Who's that guy? We've seen him arrested again and again. He's dressed in a giraffe suit. This guy's dressed in a giraffe suit, and he came out to brag about how many times he's been arrested because he thinks that he's, open borders in the United States, getting women murdered and sexually assaulted by illegal alien gang members is good stuff. And here he is bragging about all the times he's been arrested here and there in Minneapolis, and he doesn't live anywhere. It might be Oscar the Grouch that we heard about there, but he's dressed in from head to toe, a giraffe suit, but he's got kind of like a lady's bikini bottom over the top of his giraffe suit, and he's got sunglasses and a hat with horns on it.
I'm fresh out of an ICE prison in Minneapolis. I've been arrested 3 times by ICE over absurdity.
This is
over us being ourselves. Over me
being
singing
yourself.
songs like Hey, Mr. Tangerine Man, get rid of brown people for me. I'm Aryan white. There ain't no place I'm going to. And then all of a sudden, he's not ready for primetime player ICE agents with 2 weeks of training come after me. I got arrested in Portland. I got arrested in Minneapolis in the last 3 weeks twice. But they can't erase a movement, all right?
Should try to run somebody over.
What I went through is 1/1000th of a lot of marginalized people and what they have to go through in those ICE detention centers. And I want to tell you something right now. There's an announcement. Pumpkin Spice Satan is making his way to the State of the Union. So
Pumpkin
you know what
Spice
we're going to
Satan.
do?
What are you
We're
gonna
going to rev up the show right now. We're giving
This
out
is a show.
prizes. We're going to have bingo.
Members of Congress
We're
are
going
here.
to storm the White House with love
Democrat
and compassion.
Yeah. And see, because last time you guys had a rally on the mall, you were talking about firebombing it and blowing it up. And then you attacked it for 3 days, injured 180 police, set the Church of the Presidents on fire, set fire to the only building in Lafayette Park. Was that your love bomb? And these people are cross-dressing, mentally ill, dressed like a giraffe with ladies' underwear under, and the idiot member from Oregon with oversized frogs. And this is members of Congress attended this event. And they had, I think who did they have? Like George Clooney or somebody. No, it was Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro and Don Lemon. They were all dressed in ladies' underwear. Not all of them. This is what the Democrats did last night. It was their counter. They had one on the mall, too. Somebody showed up to say hello at that one. I've got that coming up as well. I just did a little bit of research, and I discovered why the Democrats have turned on whole milk. Democrat Party, they're against milk. They're against nutrition for children. But they'll take their genitalia because on January 14th, the President of the United States signed the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act into law. That doesn't make a very good acronym, does it? And a Democrat member of the House named Representative Johanna Hayes, she proudly wrote on Twitter, "I was one of only 4 Democrats who voted to support the House version of this legislation. In committee, so happy our kids will finally have the option to choose whole milk in school." And now the Democrat Party has turned around and they said, oh, no, white supremacists, whole milk. Nazis drank whole milk. Hitler liked whole milk. I will not give my children whole milk. Let's see. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Big State of the Union speech last night. It was a great world-class speech last night. It genuinely was, unambiguously. And the president did amazing things. Just last night, bringing out a political prisoner from Venezuela that had been freed, and he was greeted there in the gallery by his niece, who lives in the United States and legally, and freed political prisoner. And is that when Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib walked out of the House of Representatives? Is that right? When the Venezuelan political prisoner entered the House chamber and was greeted by his very emotional niece. My God, Donald Trump got my uncle, the political prisoner in Venezuela, freed. And that is apparently when Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib stamped their little feet out of there in the, what kind of shoes are they? Yeah, Tommy Choo. Tommy, is it Tommy? Jimmy Choo. Jimmy Choo. Yeah, it's Jimmy Choo. What, you don't know you don't have a closet full of Jimmy Choo shoes? Okay, I think they're like $2,000 a pair or something like that. Jimmy Choo shoes. But they stamped out of there. And, I'm sure they're in the Nancy Pelosi investment group. It's like the Oprah Book Club, but they just go through how they're going to cheat on Wall Street, the Democrats. Aren't they something? All right, let's take a phone call because, one of the things he did, I see Marcus wants to talk about. So let's go to the phones. Let's go to Marcus calling from Gainesville, Virginia. Marcus, you are on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. Always a pleasure talking with you.
Welcome.
And what I wanted to talk about was I think that speech last night was a model of the true American spirit. I was watching it by myself because my wife and I are in different political parties, but that speech was so great, and he brought out the Americans that were truly models of who we should be. But when he brought out that helicopter pilot that piloted that Chinook into Venezuela, and he got shot in the legs, and those of us who fly know that your legs are used to control the rudders, and without them, you can't fly the aircraft. But he managed to do it and turn the helicopter around, and the Chinook is a gigantic monster,
right,
and was able to let the task force get out and continue the mission. The mission could have ended right there if that Chinook had gone down. That pilot had not done so. And even though the co-pilot took over later, that was an absolutely heroic thing. He absolutely deserved to get that Medal of Honor. I was so proud of that. I was clapping downstairs, and I was watching it by myself because, like I said, my wife and I don't see the same view in politics. But it was really nice. What I would love to see us do sometime in the future, have a State of the Union party at a bar or something where guys like me can get together with others and we can all cheer on, the true American spirit. But it was just a great speech, the best one I've ever seen. I'm 78 years old, the best State of the Union. And I watched them all, both parties. I have never seen anything like that. President Trump was absolutely magnificent.
That is great, Marcus. And I've got to say, I agree with you 100%. It was, and I've been watching State of the Union speeches for a long, long time. And I've been up on Capitol Hill for a couple of State of the Union speeches, though not in the chamber, outside in the control truck and things like that. But it really was a marvel, and it really should be a model. And I do think that Democrats are going to study this speech. And while it was long, Marcus, it didn't seem too long to me. It's not like, boy, the speech is getting long. It was getting late. But the speech was engaging and entertaining and fun and funny and substantive. And it was really a remarkable speech. I think it might have been, and I haven't even said this yet, I think, but Marcus, and I've seen him give a lot of rousing speeches. I think in terms of overall packaging and delivery, it might have been the best speech he's given ever, at least since he got into politics.
I totally agree. I just enjoyed it so much, and I think he handled himself a little bit more presidential than he's done in the past.
Right,
where he's gotten into exceeding name-calling. When he controlled himself about the Supreme Court, he kept it at a low level. He let him know he didn't deserve, but there was no really hard feelings I saw there. But, Chris, one thing I wondered, why weren't all the justices there, especially Harold Thomas? I was confused why only 5 of them showed up. Yeah,
Clarence Thomas, I don't know. I haven't seen any accounting for why certain members of the Supreme Court were not there. There were some who boycotted for a while because the Democrats have been so vulgar and so rude that they've said, you know what, I'm just not going to engage in that stuff anymore. But I would imagine last night there were probably some special circumstances that. But I tell you what, I'll scratch the surface on that, Marcus, and see what I can learn.
Well, I just know that I enjoyed that so much, and I felt I watched the pre-speech, the speech, and the post-speeches, including that thing by Abigail Spanberger. But it was just very inspiring to watch President Trump last night. And when they sat down, when he asked about the support between the illegal aliens and the American people, I was disgusted when none of them stood up, none that I saw.
Right.
And I just think that he brought us together a lot more last night, and I think his ratings are going to go up from that speech.
I agree with everything that you said, certainly, Marcus. A great start. And you know what? I'm gonna play some audio right now. In fact, you can hang in there if you want, because President Trump. Now it was fascinating. He presented 2 medals of honor last night, the highest military award available anywhere. The Medal of Honor, and he actually called it the Congressional Medal of Honor last night at least once. But there were 2 medals of honor presented last night. Now I want to play a bit from the first one, the helicopter pilot that you're talking about, Marcus. An extraordinary story. Let me go to this one. a helicopter pilot wounded in the raid that captured then Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. He was a fake president. He stole the election. Received the Congressional Medal of Honor during President Donald Trump's State of the Union address Tuesday evening. Now, and I'm guessing he might be the 160th, which does the aviation component, the 160th Aviation Regiment, I believe it's called. And they do the special operations, helicopter operations for Delta Force. And I believe, although we don't say these things out loud, that it was Delta Force that went in and grabbed Maduro in Caracas, which is in Venezuela. But President Trump said that the U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer 5, and he said it there correctly, Eric Slover is his name, appeared to be using a walker. Yes, he did appear to be using a walker. Said he was the pilot of the lead CH-47 Chinook helicopter. I've flown on many of them. And descended on the heavily protected military fortress, the president said. Let's just play the president last night introducing the chief warrant officer.
There were many heroes on that January raid to capture Maduro, really great heroes. It was very dangerous. They knew we were coming. They were all set. But the deeds of one warrior that night will live forever in the eternal chronicles of military valor. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Slover, planned the mission and was the flight lead in the cockpit of the first helicopter. While preparing to land, enemy machine guns fired from every angle, and Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another.
And look, and the guy, again, he's a sharp-looking young guy. He's got 7 or 8 rows of ribbons on his chest and got his aviation and his jump wings, and he's got a very heavily decorated soldier and very senior enlisted Chief Warrant Officer 5. And the president said he planned the mission. That's fascinating stuff. And I've got to say, the president then the warrant officer was up in the gallery, and it was a remarkable moment. It truly was. And I share just a little bit more of this.
So we have a surprise for Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor.
The Congressional Medal of Honor. And here came the general, I believe it was 2-star Major General, and came out and draped the Medal of Honor on the Chief Warrant Officer with his wife or his best girl at his side, and it was a beautiful thing. And he was obviously severely wounded, very heavily decorated combat veteran, young guy, sharp-looking guy, looks like a politician, wonderful stuff. And there's more. I mean, there's a lot of details, and the man was shot up terribly. His actions that night offer a new detailed glimpse into the military action that has been largely shrouded in secrecy, because it was a secret operation and it was Delta Force, since it was carried out in the early hours of January 3rd. As Warrant Officer Slover prepared to land the helicopter, he was confronted with 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous airplanes. And Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all those lives and souls to face the enemy, to let the gunners eliminate the threat. And honestly, CH-47, it's a big twin-rotor troop-carrying helicopter, classic Army helicopter, been around since the Vietnam War. And it is a big lumbering, as Marcus was saying, lumbering helicopter, not an easy thing to fly. And says saving the lives of his fellow warriors, that would have been catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory, and it probably would have dashed the entire mission, and the president said that last night. And then there was another moment that the president, and you saw this man in the crowd in the gallery, and it was pointed out by one of the news anchors, because a second Medal of Honor was awarded last night too, and this was kind of an amazing moment as well. A 100-year-old veteran, old fighter pilot, who, according to what I saw last night, he fought in World War II. He fought in the Korean War, fighter pilot. He fought in the Vietnam War, and he's turning 100 years old, and either that or he's now 100 years old. But President Trump presented the Medal of Honor to a retired Navy captain. It was named E. Royce Williams, Navy pilot, shot down multiple Soviet jets during the Korean War, and he had already been awarded the Navy Cross. President Trump upgraded that to the Medal of Honor last night and draped it on the 100-year-old former fighter pilot. President Trump called him one of the last living legends, and that's an amazing story. Now, Marcus, I don't know, is Marcus still there? Marcus?
Yes, I'm here.
So are you a helicopter pilot yourself?
No, fixed wing.
You're a fixed-wing pilot. You're talking about how you need your feet to control the aircraft and all that, which is true enough. But watching this last night, it was enough to choke you up. So you're a fixed-wing pilot, and you saw the Medal of Honor being presented to the 100-year-old Navy Captain Royce Williams, and his story is absolutely amazing too. And I've got to say, he's 100 years old, and he looked smarter than Joe Biden. He looked younger and sharper than Joe Biden. The guy is a miracle. I mean, it looks like he's going to live to be 115.
And I love the smile on his face, you know.
Yeah.
It was so alert. But let's not also forget the pilot that saved those 164 people during the floods in Texas last year.
Right.
That was amazing. So non-combat, but, you know, be in those conditions he was in. These helicopter pilots are just great.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact, man. All right, Marcus, buddy. Now, did you fly military?
No, just a civilian. I was air traffic controller for the government for 40 years, but then I just took up flying so I could understand what the pilots were doing.
Excellent, Marcus. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the call. Good stuff. Thanks, buddy. All right, now we've got a great deal to get to yet, don't we? Yes, we do. We certainly do. And more audio, and we've got more media because you know how they are. They're completely ridiculous people. And we like to think of them that way because that's the way they are. They're lunatics. Yes, sir. And Chuck Schumer going from place to place. It wasn't the State of the Union. It was the State of Delusion. Hey, can we send a limousine over here so you can say that on our TV set? Because it's all a terrible television show. The Democrat Party and their allies have corrupted our political system to the point. Yeah, and good headline here. House Democrat booted from the Trump address after holding up "Black people are not apes" sign. I think the FBI should get in on that, find out who posted that "Black people are not apes" thing. It'll be a Democrat. Did you see the Democrats on the mall last night, too? Idiot Democrat Senator Chris Murphy on the mall last night had somebody come up to say hello. I want to share that with you coming up.
Chuck Schumer putting out a statement. The first line, which reads, "The State of the Union address revealed Donald Trump is in a state of delusion."
Also, gotten a couple of texts here about the Congressional Medal of Honor, which is actually just called the Medal of Honor. It's not called technically the Congressional Medal of Honor. But texting with a friend of mine this morning and say, it's not what it's called. It's just called the Medal of Honor. Congress has nothing to do with it. And that's true. And I had to say, but I grew up calling it the Congressional Medal of Honor. I heard it described that way frequently. And President Trump called it the Congressional Medal of Honor last night, so it kind of doesn't matter. And even the headline here from, what is this, the Associated Press, Army pilot wounded in Maduro raid gets Congressional Medal of Honor, right there in the headline. Go into the body of the story, and once again, they call it the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's actually just called the Medal of Honor. Congress doesn't approve or authorize or anything like that. So I just wanted to say that. Now let's go. Let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Mark calling from beautiful downtown Independence, Missouri. Marcus, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris. Thank you. And I think one of the most significant lines in President Trump's great speech last night, he is the only thing standing between the Democrats and going back to wide open borders and all the evil the Democrats bring about. And at this point, with this Democrat Party, I don't see how this country survives another Democrat president. I mean, we had a Republican Congress when Biden was in there, and they couldn't stop the invasion. And that's what the Democrat Party is. And you may have said this at one point. They are an invasion into this country right now. They are the greatest threat to this country, and Republicans have to go after them, not as political opponents, but as the greatest threat to our country, because survival of our country is on the line right now, and they have no choice. I mean, they are a dangerous bunch of people, and they have to be fought like that, not just political opponents.
There are certainly many tens of millions of people that agree with you completely and wholeheartedly, and I have described them many times as being the equivalent of, at a bare minimum, an invading army like the Soviet Union or communist China. It's like Red Dawn. We're going to have to call out the Wolverines into the mountains of Colorado to fight against the Democrats. But you're right. It is President Obama threatened the fundamental transformation of America. They are here to make the United States of America unrecognizable as the United States of America. They started out being hostile to Leave It to Beaver and 1950s black and white TV shows where normal families had normal children. And the Democrats pounded the table, and they're angry with that. Then they've turned on the founding fathers of the United States, the founding principles. They've turned, and I've got to say, Mark, I've been talking about this for years. The Democrats have turned on the Enlightenment, not only the creation of our great country, but the political philosophers of Europe before the United States was even founded, developing Western political thought. And the Democrat Party, the left, the left has never been in favor of the West and Western political thought. And, John Locke and the list is long and distinguished. And Thomas Jefferson, they've turned against it, and they've taken over education like an invading army. They've taken over media, NPR and CNN, like an invading army.